Hello there,
Hello.
Michael Oden.
How's it going, Azrael? How are you?
Not too bad. We're still alive. Our football team lost today, but hopefully you guys. I know this guy thing.
What's your team?
Nottingham Forest from the world famous City Ground in Nottingham, Robin Hood country, went down a valiant 2-0 to the billionaire state-run club of Manchester City. 3 shots hit the woodwork, but never mind that. You guys are going to
That's actually like not given that it's Man City and you guys are Nottingham, 2-0, not the worst loss you could have ended up with. And if you had opportunities on goal, that's awesome.
Yeah, 3 hit the woodwork, and maybe somebody must have trodden on the cat and they just didn't go in. And we gave them a goal head start early on. So considering all that, not so bad. But anyway, we're here to talk Elysian Fields, and we can't wait. It's going to put us in a great mood. We always have a philosophical outlook on life. Footballers are paid an awful lot of money to lose. How about that, eh? Us guys in sports, huh? Right then, folks, we've done a bit of green room chats. But first of all, you know how we do things around here. We've got to do this. Right, we can remove that one, and let's get our presentation. A show on the road. Right then, folks. What do you think to the intro? A bit dramatic, huh? A bit Hitchcock, a bit Planet of the Apes.
Absolutely. And for a book like mine, it's just super fitting. It works just amazingly. So I'm pumped.
Feel the burn, feel the flames, folks. The 5 pillars of storytelling live. Azrael chats to 9 realms publishing. Us, we're all about art, comics, movies, games, and toys. It's Sunday, the 27th of April. Elysian Fields Reborn is the book, indie comic we're going to be talking about. It's 7 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, London, UK. And please like, comment, and subscribe. That's just like a follow on X, folks, on Twitter. It's subscribe implies payment. It's not. It's just log into YouTube and give us a wee follow if you find value in this stream. It helps support the channel, helps keeps things going with these live chats. Host introduction. Hello there. Welcome to the 5 Pillars of Storytelling Live, where we talk about art, comics, movies, games, and toys. I'm your host, Azrael. My secret identity is Carl Prometheus, storyteller, artist, and promoter of indie creators, indie comics, and the indie comic community. We're doing our bit to help grow the pie for the indie comics community. We feel it's exploding at the minute, and that's where the opportunities are. Manga's exploding, anime exploding, but indie comics are off the charts exploding. We say a universal shockwave. Even our style is universal. We can be watched by creative families, creative adults, and the creative younglings. So we always keep the language family friendly. Our motto is to listen, to learn, and to share. Inspiring quote. Let's look into the camera as we say that. Develop a bit of rapport from our audience, either now or in the future, who are watching in the now. Inspiring quote. Comics are an international language. They can cross boundaries and generations. Comics are a bridge between all cultures. A certain Osamu Tezuka legend that he was said that. He also said something very interesting. We're now living in the age of comics as air. Very appropriate for this era of indie comics we are in. Next thing we do, this is our last bit of verbosity before we close the mouth and let our guest do the talking. Guest introduction, Elysian Fields. We like to do a bit of prose for our guests. We like to keep it positive, show we've done our homework. Yes, you, Dave Brinks, Genuine Comics, he notes we did our homework. And it's our way of showing respect for the creators who've given up their time to appear on the show, but also our watchwords are positivity on social media. We try and treat everybody with grace, gentleness, and generosity. You know what the old motto is? Treat other people how you yourself would like to be treated, yeah? Elysian Fields Reborn, launching 3/28/25 this year at Elysian Fields 0x. The reboot of the 2020 indie launch of Nine Realms Publishing LLC returns. Sounds like they've got a nice small creative team there, small company. Independent company. Creator Michael Odin's Elysian Fields Reborn is the culmination of all he has learned since entering independent comics 5 years ago. William Waugh Reyes is a full-time comic book sequential penciler who studied at Fine Arts at the Far Eastern University in the Philippines, worked as an animator for film cartoons, Top Draw, Past, and Toon City Animation Studios. Drew Williams is an experienced syndicated features editor and art director. So they've got themselves and others on the coloring and the lettering, which we'll talk about more when we specifically talk about the creative team later. All we can say is that's a pretty quality small creative team. Welcome to Elysian Fields.
Well, thank you for the warm welcome. And you're right. You did a great deal of homework. I was sitting there reading all this like, man, that's great. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm really excited to talk with you guys here today about Elysian Fields Reborn, and I'm going to do my best to keep it PG-13 because most of these shows I go on, it's
well, we view it as, you know, there's lots of podcasts, and then sometimes they wonder why I don't get the views. We don't care if we get the views or not, but we feel that the indie comics wild frontier, yes, there's going to be a bit of friction between different tribes as we reach for our plot of creative land. But we feel if we aspire to the same creative professional standards that we hold the quote-unquote mainstream or not so mainstream media these days to, then, you know, we can't just throw stones. We, you know, he is without sin. You know, it's all that kind of old-fashioned saying of, you know, be better, aim for better.
100%. And 100%. Most of the shows I end up going on are like later night shows. And so like it's everybody finally like kind of letting loose now that the kids have gone to bed. And so it's just like, but yeah, it's really exciting.
And we understand that. But we feel if we can get a more universal approach, we can hopefully get more people for the independent creators and the independent comics. Yeah. We don't have to reach
100%. And it's
super
have to
reach
important.
Everybody, but the more positive we are, more people think, you know what? We kind of like what they're saying, and there's no kind of like bad heat, only good heat, especially when you're talking about the fires of the Elysian Fields. What we've got for you, Michael Odin, are the big 5 questions. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's hit them.
Let's do it. Right, here we go, folks. We're going in with the big one. Who is Nine Realms Publishing? Storytelling influencers, comic journey, movies, music. At your behest, sir.
Okay. So Nine Realms Publishing LLC is my comic book publishing company. I started it 5 years ago in 2020. And our first book that we did was Elysian Fields issue 0. So this Elysian Fields is a reboot of that. When I came into the scene in 2020, had a lot of initial success. We raised just short of 9K on that 0 issue. And we were able to take that, turn around and make our second book, which was kind of a lesson in the school of hard knocks. It did not do nearly as well. And it actually almost got me to quit comics. But that's one of those things, is that this is working in this industry is very much a marathon. It's not like a short sprint. And you know, I've had tons of highs since then. I've had some lows, but like making these stories is something that I love doing, and to have it all come back to this series and to be able to do with it what I have been on Elysian Fields Reborn is very exciting. In terms of our storytelling influences, you know, for me personally as a writer, it depends on like each specific project. Each project has its own kind of identity and everything like that, and so you draw from different experiences, different styles of writing, different books, different movies, different comics. I'd like to think that I'm a fairly well-read individual, and so like I really just kind of pull from everything that I've absorbed over my 30 plus years of being alive. For Elysian Fields, a big thing that's played into that is obviously a love of mythology, which started with my dad reading me the Iliad and the Odyssey as my bedtime story growing up. So, like that's really what's kind of kickstarted that, and then that spawned a love of history, of mythology, and that's of course expanded as I've gotten older. Comic books being the specific medium that I want to go into was very much a result of my brothers. I had two older half brothers when I was growing up that watched my sister and I a lot while my dad was deployed and my mom was finishing her master's degree. So I got to read a lot of really cool comics, watch a lot of really cool animated series with these big characters. It was the 90s as well, so you had things like the Image Revolution and everything going on. And so it was a pretty cool time to be interested in comics, and I got hooked. And so, and with comics being themselves, that continuation of the epic myth of the Homeric tradition, evolving from these, orally delivered poems around a campfire to now having these tales of epic heroism and great deeds in these beautifully drawn, cheap books that are targeted towards a, as you said, like a family audience where anybody can pick it up and get something out of it, I think is so important.
I'll tell you what, all we were thinking while you were talking was our wheelhouse, Jack Kirby, Homer, a kind of classic heroic tradition, and we're thinking this is right up our alley. And we thought, actually, this guy's come from good, creative storytelling breeding stock. If you don't mind us saying, and we caught you that you're saying that your mum had an MA. Do you mind us asking what that MA was in? Though you don't have to tell us.
I honestly can't even remember. I think that it's something to do with financing. I know that she has like a background in theater. She worked at the Kennedy Center for like years. When I was growing up, and that allowed me some pretty cool opportunities as a kid growing up. I got to see some of the greatest plays that you could ever imagine, because I had access to not just the Kennedy Center, but they have like connections with, in Washington, D.C., they have a Shakespeare theater that puts on all sorts of different productions. So like through middle school, I got really into theater. Towards the end of elementary school, I was in our school's production of Macbeth as the dying Macbeth, which is the best scene to have because you get to do the candles monologue, and that was a really cool thing to be able to do. And so that spurred a love of theater for a bit, and I got to go to the Shakespeare theater, see Othello, Hamlet. We had like season passes for several years where I would go, and I even got to see, because like they put on more than just obviously Shakespeare's itinerary. They put on. I got to see Thucydides is the Persians, which was very good, and I remember kind of having a weird reaction to it because at the time global war on terror was kind of at its peak. And so as a way to create kind of a modern contemporary commentary on it, they had like Xerxes dressed in a like modern US military outfit, because war in Iraq and Afghanistan were kind of at their peak in their unpopularity at the time. So it was a very interesting thing to get to go and have all that. And obviously it's played into my own work and everything like that. I love tackling these larger than life characters. And, I've been fortunate to create a bunch of really cool ones myself, but being able to handle characters with legacies like Achilles and Heracles, Hippolyta, Gilgamesh, Enkidu, like all of these characters who make up a very massive part of our societal subconscious in terms of what we expect to see from heroes. has been
almost
really
like the bedrock and foundation of Western civilization storytelling, like you
yeah, absolutely. And I think that the cool thing is that I'm not just using like those guys. You know, I can't go into it because I don't want to spoil things. But like it, you know, this is a massive, like this is my ongoing project. I have it mapped out across 30 issues. And so you're going to get to see people from completely different cultures kind of interacting in the arena, and you get to see their versions of heroism kind of clash and their philosophies clash. And that's a very exciting concept as well.
Excellent. What we like there is they're almost the twin pillars of Homer and Shakespeare. I mean, and then the idea that using the bedrock of Western civilization storytelling there to infused with your own imagination, and you can't beat classic tradition and the legends, and to take those legends forwards in your own image. You know, that's history making, which was a theme of an earlier ex post thing today. What he says, what does nine realms? It's kind of segueing in, isn't it? You know, you almost think that we've prepared or planned this. What does the Nine Realms Publishing create then?
So I actually had like
elevator pitch, convention table pitch. Cal Prometheus or a young Kyle is wandering past your convention table and he goes, "Ooh, hot art, image influence, cool art." But how do you draw me in apart from the hot art?
Okay, so is this just for Elysian Fields or everything that I've done? Because I have like 10 books under my belt at this point, and well,
in this case, let's focus on Elysian Fields, and then if you want to broaden it out to your broader cosmology, let's do it.
The great thing about the elevator pitch and the convention table pitch is they literally start off the exact same. I really feel that an elevator pitch and a convention table pitch are kind of the similar thing, because the whole idea is that you need to be able to hook somebody. Like the concept of the elevator pitch is being able to hook somebody within 45 seconds and the time between it takes to get from one floor of the elevator to the next, right?
Okay.
So, and it's very similar with a convention. You have seconds. You don't have minutes. You have seconds to get these people to step up and actually invest themselves in your project. So I'm going to make it both of these. At its base level, Elysian Fields is Mortal Kombat with heroes and mythology. It starts off and you see Achilles' final battle at Troy. He dies. He goes to the afterlife, reunites with Patroclus for maybe about 30 seconds before he's taken away from the arena. Before he's taken away from that piece and brought to an arena where he's fighting alongside Heracles and Hippolyta against Gilgamesh and Enkidu. And this is all in an effort to help Hades regain his dominion over the underworld through this abyssal tournament of champions.
Tournament of champions, legends, yes, mythology. So for you, it's about trying to get people hooked within seconds. You know, you've got words happening. I'll name that tune in 1. Can it be 7? Can it be done in 11? Can it be done in teens, maybe 15 to 17 words? Can it be done in 25 or under? Yeah. I'm working with variations of pitches according to those different word counts. So it's interesting talking about, can you catch somebody at a convention super quick in seconds? Yeah. Hook them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And to that question, I think that, you know, in terms of like how long it needs to be, is it shouldn't be more than 2 or 3 sentences. You want to be like, elevator pitches will give you 45 seconds. You want something that's going to hook people in about 10 or 15. There are certain exceptions where you kind of need that space because it's a more elaborate concept, and so you've got to kind of set the groundwork to get people invested. But like, there's your hook and then there's the pitch, right? And so the hook for Elysian Fields is obviously Mortal Kombat with heroes and mythology. People know what Mortal Kombat is. They know that it's a fighting game and a massive franchise like that. And then heroes of mythology, that starts putting certain ideas in people's head, whether it's Greek, Norse, Chinese, like whatever, that immediately evokes a certain image. And so I think that that's like the best way for me to get people in through that. And then I go in and give like a very condensed version of our synopsis.
Absolutely. So what we're talking there is target audience. Boom.
Correct.
You know, a shockwave going backwards from Mortal Kombat to ancient times. We like that. Recursive explosion. We like that. Right, how about we go for Azrael, behave yourself. We've got a cover here. Tell us about this hot space.
Okay, so this is our main cover of the book done by our art team. So Will Warreyes handled the pencil work on here. Inks were done by Tiago Gomez, and the colors were done by a guy called Ruvian. He does just and they just did a tremendous job. I really wanted the main cover to kind of cement the new take on this franchise. As I said, it was a reboot, and there are some pretty stark differences, not just from a stylistic point, but the roster is different as well. As you know, when I initially did the series, the team was Achilles, Theseus, and Heracles, and now it's Achilles, Heracles, and Hippolyta. That's been a really fun change, and I honestly think my series has greatly improved because of it, because Hippolyta is a much better character glue than Theseus was, and I felt like I was kind of getting backed into a corner with how I was trying to write Theseus. I don't think that it was as good as it could have been when I went back and was looking at the old scripts and everything.
Do you know what? It's interesting that you say that, because in real life, and we'll touch this very diplomatically with us being in the UK, you've got non-crimes and thought crimes and other such things, and we don't have the Bill of Rights. So we have to watch what we say, occasionally just doing once and then twice, is it for no? And so we just we have to behave ourselves. But yes, bringing male and female energy into a storyline creates that nice little bit of friction, yeah? And
Yeah.
it is the food of narrative. It really does create a nice flow, you know. So we think your instincts are true, and from our own experience of developing our own concepts and stuff, we think as we get a little bit older and we get a few more miles on our clock, on our shoulders, we sort of get new ideas, new experience, and we suddenly think, actually, those new jigsaw pieces were parts of the missing pieces that almost held us backed into a corner of that puzzle. And now you're becoming a bit more progressive and expansive, because you think, actually, bringing a lady character into it creates a whole new dynamic. Yeah.
But it's not even just like, I mean, obviously, yes, you know, bringing in a female character does create different dynamics, because now you also have to add in aspects of, you know, desire, right? Like there is attraction elements that can be underwritten with certain characters and everything like that, and that obviously plays up certain aspects of how each of these characters will interact with her. But I think that the big thing for me was taking a look at how her story, when I was doing the research on her and her mythology and everything like that, how her story ties her to both Achilles and Heracles, and it becomes a way more cohesive narrative because of it.
Excellent. Yes, there is something more almost holistic and cohesive with adding the missing dynamic. Yes. Tell you what, we just got to have a quick hello to Master Crenshaw. Often does his house chores while he's listening to us. Hopefully we can take you to that different place tonight. Master Crenshaw, FAO, our battle general, who pops in and says hello. He's listening along as he can to his, I tell you what, he's a master reviewer, you know, folks. He's got a velvety voice up there with Richard Burton, the Richard Burton of indie comic reviews, and he's got a lovely slick style. He can basically sum up a book in about a minute. It might be worth a try, Master Crenshaw, to give Elysian Fields a go. Can you actually sum them up in a minute with your lovely slick flow style of indie comic reviews? There's a gauntlet.
That would be awesome.
A Greek gauntlet down on the floor for you. Or not just on the floor, but in some Elysian Field. You know what I'm saying? Right then, we are going to do this next slide here. It is, story. This is a chance for us to do our movie trailer voice. Here we go. Story. Fueled by pride, driven by rage, chasing after glory. This was the life of Achilles. But despite the number of foes he laid low, his fate was sealed the moment he set foot on the plains of Ilium. So just as the countless that had met his blade, death came and took him. Finally, Achilles would find peace for a time. However, this peace is now interrupted as he has been called upon to fight once more, a gladiator in a contest of champions to determine the next lord of the underworld. Alongside the heroes Heracles and Hippolyte, Achilles champions the cause of Hades to regain his dominion over the underworld against teams of heroic champions unlike any he has ever faced.
Yes, that is the story.
Care to add anything, Governor?
I mean, I think that the big thing about Elysian Fields, and it's one of the things that's really cool about getting to write it, is at face value, it's a battle book, but it's also a story about a person's struggle to try and be a better version of themselves than what they were in life. And Achilles, when he goes to Troy, he's told, or right before he goes, he's told that if he goes, he will die young, but he will be remembered forever, and he will like, glory is going to be his legacy. And then but if he'd stayed, he would get to live a long life, have a family and everything like that, but his name would eventually be forgotten. So Achilles makes this decision knowing exactly what's coming with it. But he's only, like, if you're going based off of mythological tradition, Achilles is like 13 when he leaves for Troy. He's a kid. He is not in a place to make an informed decision like that. And so one of the fun things to do is that this is an Achilles that fought 10 years at Troy, died, but then he's also had a little bit of time to experience the peace he missed out on. And so there is this kind of aspect of him where he's wondering whether or not, there is more to him than just the weapon, right? Like, is that the only talent he really has? And can he rise above those demons that drove him in life? Can he overcome them to be the better man? Can he be a man of peace? Or is he always destined to be the dog of war?
Yeah, that's a resonant message, isn't it? It's all men have to grapple with truth, destiny, purpose, using these in the journey of happiness, in these things here, yeah? Whether it's wielding a sword or wielding a pencil in writing or art, yeah? That's what unites all those guys on the battlefield of the Elysian Fields.
Mm-hmm. Well put.
Interior art. Tell us about it, please, Michael Oden.
Okay, so what you are seeing right now is this is, I believe, our first. That's the first page of Elysian Fields. So obviously, as I said when I was giving the elevator pitch, you get to see Achilles' final battle at Troy, and so this starts off with what a lot of people don't realize is that Hector dies, but that's only like the 9th year of the war. The siege goes on for 10, and Achilles dies during its 10th year before it falls. And so in between the time where Hector dies and Achilles dies, Troy ends up calling out for aid to a whole bunch of different people, and a whole bunch of different people answer. And so this is one of the last guys who ends up coming to Troy to fight Achilles, and that is King Memnon of Ethiopia. And so he comes, he and Achilles have a duel, and they fight. And so we have this fantastic art, which has been done by Will Reyes, and as I said, Will, Tiago, Ruvian, I believe. Oh, at this point, Ruvian also brought on a flatter, Lou Winter, who does like they work very well together. And you get this recreation of these final moments at Troy in a way that's incredibly cinematic and beautifully rendered and colored.
Do you know what I say to that? I'm looking at that page and I can see the chemistry. I can almost smell it. That's a team that knows one another, almost like Athenian Spartan brothers. You know that Greek brotherhood thing?
Yeah.
Right there on the page.
And it's really cool because I found this team because they had worked together on another project before this.
Oh, pray tell.
I can't even remember what it was called. I remember I was playing Joe Mad's famous Darksiders franchise. I was like, oh, this would be a really good aesthetic for like Elysian Fields. And then, like, sure enough, within the next couple of days, a Kickstarter came up, and it was crazy because this thing didn't even end up funding because they were asking for a pretty substantial funding goal, and they were not particularly well-known creators. Like, it was one of those things where it was like, I know a relative no name asking for over 5 figures for a campaign, which is a gamble because a lot of people won't invest that kind of money up front especially if they see that it's not across the funding line. Fear of missing out only gets you so far, and you really need to be over the funding goal in order to keep going past it.
You absolutely nailed it there. The business plan is the balance between art and the commerce, how well known you are and how much you can turn that FOMO, you know? You're absolutely spot on.
Absolutely. But like, that's how I had found them. And, you know, as crazy as it seems to say, the pages that are on the campaign are like the worst pages of the book. And like, it's insane because those pages are gorgeous. But like, let me tell you, by the time we had done a lot, we had front loaded a lot of that stuff to make sure that we were able to promote well and to convey everything that the story was trying to tell. And I had also done like a 12-page preview that we had printed out and were like giving out to people at selling to conventions and adding them on to previous campaigns that I had done as tiers to try and generate hype. So like we had a solid, like that solid chunk already done to make sure that we had everything we needed to promote. Yeah. But once we got into the actual production of finishing the book, they just clicked. Not Tiago, Ruvian was like, hey, I just like leveled up my coloring techniques. Yeah. Just wait. And then, you know, Will got more and more confident in his line work and was getting into his flow and was just crushing it. It was insane.
Isn't that, you know, when you're a creator, concept writer, and you're in the apex of the tip of the spear of the team, yeah? Mm-hmm. It must be a privilege to see it firsthand where that's gorgeous, but then the team, because of the chemistry, they just take it North Star.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, we've got another one here. Tell us about this page, because that looks
so
like that's going to hit in the morning, son.
Yeah, so this is literally the next page from the one that you had up there. This is our second page. And what we really wanted to do here is, again, this is a guy that's been brought to Troy to take on Achilles. And so what we wanted to do is we really wanted to establish him as this big, physically imposing threat. And so to do that, we have him just completely slaughter one of Achilles' myrmidons. So now it's a whole thing of, we've built up Memnon a little bit, and then we introduce Achilles in the next couple of, I think there's a page after this.
I'll tell you what we need to do is go on to the next page then. It sounds like this is getting a bit tasty. Let's do it.
Yes. So this is here, you know, as I said, like we really wanted to showcase. So he's taking all the Myrmidons all at once. He's kind of teasing them for their ineffectiveness against him, and he's holding their friend's body hostage, which is a pretty common practice back then. And it's all in an effort to draw out the real threat, who is Achilles. Now, I didn't put it on the campaign because I didn't want the campaign to like shrink it down and ruin it. But the next page is actually a 2-page spread of Achilles coming in on a chariot.
Tasty.
And it's absolutely fantastic.
Tell you what, more interior artwork.
Yeah, this is 3 pages after that last one. There's the 2-page spread, and then it's this.
I bet that spread is very tasty. I mean, we're behaving ourselves. We're sitting on our hands just so we can listen to what the creator's got to say. We're just soaking this in like a sponge. You know, Greek mythology, Homer. Azrael, be quiet. Let him speak.
It's all good, man.
We like the way the action's coming towards us as well. I mean, just check out that panel at the bottom of the page, folks.
100%. And this was the whole thing: is we wanted Memnon to be impressive. We wanted Achilles to be that much more impressive, because it's like, this is a guy, like this is the reason this guy has been brought to Troy, is to fight Achilles. And then, you know, the other cool thing is that if you're a history nerd, you're going to look at a lot of the armors that the Greeks and the Trojans are wearing, and they're stylized, but they're based off of some actual historical pieces from historical armor sets from the actual Bronze Age period that the Trojan War would have allegedly taken place. But Achilles is in this very fantastical armor that we kind of blended some iconic Greek helmets together for his helmet, and then we made this really cool lion themed cuirass, and we're able to do that because in, I believe it's book 9 of the Iliad, Achilles gets a new set of armor made by the god of the smiths, Hephaestus, to replace the armor that was used by Patroclus and had been taken by Hector.
So I've got to interject quickly, just briefly. Hephaestus, my main man. I get so excited about him. Such a great guy.
And so it's really cool to get a chance to do this. It's, you know, it's one of these things where we really wanted to cement that this guy is like a larger than life character in this, because one of the big aspects that is, you know, as I said, there's that
almost
battle
baptized and forged by the gods themselves.
Yeah, well, and so like as I had mentioned earlier, there's that theme in this story of Achilles being kind of wanting to be the better man, but being in this tournament is going to tease a lot of these demons that had driven Achilles' actions in life, the pride and the rage and everything like that. And a lot of that is due to the fact that Achilles, you know, he's in the third age of heroes. A lot of people don't realize this, but you know, when you look at the Iliad, there's actually a whole part where Nestor, who's like the old guy of the army, starts talking about how, as great as some of these chiefs are, they're nothing by comparison to the likes of Theseus or Jason. Right? He talks about how the previous generation of heroes would have made even Achilles look like a chump. And so there's this whole aspect of this tournament giving Achilles the challenge he never faced in life. Because contrary to the 2004 movie Troy, or really any Hollywood adaptation of this material, the fight between Achilles and Hector was not a fight between equals. It was a slaughter. And that's kind of the whole point of it when you look at what the Iliad is actually about. But Achilles doesn't really face many people who actually push him, if at all. You know, and so I really wanted this opening segment with Memnon to kind of cement. It's like, yeah, this guy is a badass, and he's frankly on a whole other level than anyone else that's fighting at the time. And so now we're going to take him and put him against people who are at the same level, if not even a bit above it.
Exactly.
Where he's actually going to be pushed.
Challenge, destiny. Tell us about this one.
Yeah, so just following in to what I said is like we really wanted to establish Achilles as just a whole other level of things. So like, you know, we have him jump off the chariot, and he's, you know, he threw his spear at Memnon as his like opening action and like intentionally missed. And so now he's coming down to fight the guy with his sword. And, you know, Achilles' spear is actually his main weapon. Like that is what he is most known for. It was his father's spears made from this very specific type of wood called Pelion ash. And it is said to be so heavy and weirdly balanced that only Achilles knows how to use it in the Iliad. So we wanted to set up this whole thing where he throws his spear as like a, hey, you know, I see you. And then this entire fight, he fights him with his sword as kind of a, yeah, you're not worth my bronze. Like you're like, I'm not going to bother with my main weapon with you. You're getting the secondary one. You're getting the pistol. You're not getting my rifle.
You're getting the local butcher treatment here, son.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'll tell you what, if eventual radio listeners, because we will put these on radio podcasts eventually, we've got to say, just the top panel where it's in silhouette against almost a lens flare sun, and then the leap down, but then, you know, the after spirit, you know, the kind of motion figures into his final resting spot, and, you know, the way the earth's actually kicking up, you know, it's so swirling and dynamic.
Yeah. It was such a cool thing to get to see come together.
When you see those pages come in, I tell you what, if you get as excited as we are, I tell you what, it must be just, you know, just looking at them. Those pages.
Let me tell you, I got 3 pages from Will today from issue 2, and I was just like, dude, no, like you didn't have to go like this hard. It's insane.
I tell you what, speaking of insane, let's look at this.
Yeah. So that's
a perspective, isn't it? Look at that. You're up and behind, and there's the front of the boat. Tell us more. This looks crazy.
It was so cool to get to put together, and like Will crushed it. This is obviously the ferryman Charon is ferrying Achilles towards the arena. They're on the river Styx, and yeah, it's freaking awesome. This is what this book is about, is giving you guys the coolest damn spectacle I possibly can.
Tell you what, you know those old history books where you get Greek flavored, you know, there's writing and there's illustrated pictures.
Mm-hmm.
Folks, this is of that kind of standard. Probably.
Oh, 100%.
And you're getting it as a comic book. It's what you always dreamed of. You remember, as a young lad, you'd be thinking, yeah, that's good, but I read Spider-Man. It would be good if this was actually a comic book with more Greek pictures, more legend pictures, all in sequential comic book art. And then somebody's come along all this time later and finally delivered it.
Yeah.
Wow. Tell you what, we've got to look at the next page. I don't think I can cope with the anticipation. You know, it's like having lots of Christmas presents, and you try not to peek, but we've got to look at the next one, folks. Tell us about this one.
So this is just such a great. So this is what's going on in the arena as Achilles is getting there. Is you've got this fight going on, and so you got Hippolyta riding she's riding this infernal horse, and it's actually not just like random horse. When you read the book, you will notice that she calls this mayor Danos. It's one of the mayors of Diomedes that Heracles has to round up as a part of his 13 labors. So like she's riding Danos, who is literally like a cannibalistic horse that goes around and eats people. And so so she's riding that, and she's having an archery off with Gilgamesh here.
I like that. An archery off. It's going down.
That's effectively what's happening is they're shooting arrows at one another, and then in the back you see Enkidu and Heracles in the middle of a wrestling match.
I tell you what, wrestling match as well. You've got eat your heart out, Ghost Rider. She's riding a flaming horse, and then you're having an archery off. You paying attention? What does absolute Wonder Woman? Well, we've got an absolute hellfire horse rider here. I would, feels, folks.
I would honestly like it. I know that it will never happen because doing licensing with a major publisher like that is like a headache and a half that I don't want. But like, let me tell you, if I could do a team up book between Absolute Wonder Woman and Elysian Fields Hippolyta, I would cry. That book is fantastic. I will tip my hat off to where it's due.
Hey,
I have really enjoyed that book.
Hey, Team Blue, are you listening? DC, the gauntlet's gone down in the Elysian Fields. We don't want anybody to think that you're chicken. Just saying. Anyway, and just makes you want to go to that background situation there in the background where they're having a wrestle. You're thinking, let's get over to that Jerry Springer scene. We just want to see them wrestle just for a little while and think it's going down, but where do you put your eyes? We like that excitement. We're trying to actually stay calm. This is our wheelhouse kind of thing.
There's another spread like this in book 2 that's going to completely blow people away. I can't wait for people to see that shit.
Well, I'll tell you what, we like somebody on the show, special honored guest who's passionate about the subject matter, and what we look for. Every guest we have on, we look for creative leadership. We want to see the fire, and quite literally on the front of your book, there's fire. That's what we want.
Yes, there is fire. And because
fire.
And what I will say is because we crossed 4K, we actually unlocked an upgrade. So all of the people who back that first cover are getting it as a lava holofoil. So when I did Elysian Fields issue 0, we did the same thing. Is that 0 issue got an upgrade to a lava holofoil. So it's a nice little a Easter egg to that, and a way to kind of if you got that 0 issue way back in the day, you now have both of these lava holofoil editions of Elysian Fields as a 1-for-1 as a thank you.
This is something we like that indie comics we feel is a strength. Yes, the variant cover, but custom holofoil naming, lava holofoil. These are things, creative mechanisms you can use to differentiate your product from another. Yeah, and it's when you see them and people hold them up in the promos, it just makes you want to back them and buy them, and then you've got to wait. It's torture, but you want it. That anticipation in the audience. Yeah, absolutely. Right, tell us about this one, please.
Okay, so this one is, this is the archery contest. This is Hippolyta and Gilgamesh are shooting arrows at one another, and while archery from horseback has its advantages, a grounded archer is going to be able to shoot more accurately and with more force.
Yeah,
so that's what ends up happening. But Hippolyta doesn't really go down without a fight, and she's a little badass in her own right.
Cool. I'll tell you what. Can we use the word feisty for her? Just let that slight pause there, folks, for you in the audience doing your house chores. Just might us saying the word feisty might just slightly distract you, Master Crenshaw, from doing your hoovering. Just saying. Right, let's move to the next one. Achilles.
Yes. So this is Achilles' entrance.
What do you say to this, Michael?
I say this is where Achilles comes into the arena, and it's great. This page was actually like we had to really work at it, because the way that I wrote it in the script, I didn't really think about panel flow and everything like that. And so when Will presented me the pencils, like, this isn't working. So we actually had to work really hard on this page, and it turned out so well. Like this is such a great piece, and the way that between how SK lettered it and everything like that, it works.
We'll talk a bit more about the creative team, but are you finding when you talk about this situation where something's clearly not working, you've got your writer's hat on and the artist got his kind of artist hat on, you can have that conversation without being a big thing? It's just part of the organic flow between your synaptic bridge to his mind.
Well, and so what had happened in this page was I didn't give clear enough instructions about what I wanted to have. Like, there's a sweet spot when you're writing a script where it's a blend of creative and technical writing, right? Like, there is obviously a creative aspect to it. You're telling a story, but you also need to be effectively communicating to your artist what exactly you want to be happening on each page, each panel, et cetera, et cetera. And so you need to be able to obviously inspire creativity, but you also need to be able to clearly and concisely communicate what you want to have happen. And so what had happened was, specifically, is when I had the panel breakdown, is there are certain rules in terms of how many actions are supposed to happen in a panel, or this, that, the other. And I had kind of gone overboard on that. And so he had sent something and it didn't really read particularly well. There wasn't enough room for the lettering, and there wasn't this and that. And so it was just a whole thing. It was like I called him, I hit him up, and I was like, look, this is on me. I went and I read what I had in the script. It doesn't really work. Let's figure out a way to make this work. And so we did, and it turned out brilliantly.
Do you know, Michael, one of the things that I like about what you did there, you owned it, rather than saying that's not any good and creating a negative situation to begin with, which would have made him feel creatively on his knees. You actually approached it in a kind of high ground way and said, you know what, that's on me. And I didn't do so well with my instructions. How about we have another pass at it, you know? So you actually turn it around into a positive situation. We really do like that. You know, that's good teamwork.
I appreciate it. And like that's what it ultimately comes down to. You know, I was in the Army for 6 years. And so I have a very like military mindset on things, where it's like, you know, we're as a creative team, each one of us has our roles, and, you know, nobody's going to be Audie Murphy all the time. Like, you're not going to be a rock star with every single time that you go at this. You're going to have mistakes. You're going to have things, and it's important to acknowledge when you have those, and, you know, work what you can to overcome it.
That's very interesting, because we've got somebody in the family, I won't be too specific, who's got a bit of a military background, and you might be surprised that he has a lot in common with yourself, actually. We won't say any more for privacy reasons. However, because they can't speak on their behalf. But it's interesting. One thing he told us once was, it's not, when you're doing leadership, it's not just barking orders at people and creating a negative environment. Yeah. It's lads, we've got this problem. What can we do to get over from this part of the land? We've got to get over there, and we're going to maybe experience a bit of resistance. Let's all make a suggestion, and we'll all put our hands up. We'll vote for the best idea. So it's not just me as, you know, the leader of the group, of the cadre, to actually say this is what we're doing. Sometimes we don't always have the best solution, and we find it from our team. Does that make sense?
100%. Well, this is where, when you look at leadership, is, yes, it's important to be authoritative at times, right? Like, there are definitely times where you have to put your foot down and be like, look, like we need to get stuff done. You don't want to be there. There's the, there's the two different, there's the idea of the two different types of, the three different types of leader. There's the one that wants to be loved by everybody, that ends up being abused by people because they don't take them seriously because they let everyone walk all over them. Then there's the tyrant who goes and just treats everyone like crap because it's all about making him look good. But then there's the healthy medium that has respect, right? There's where they know how to juggle the use of authority in a way where they aren't being toxic. They aren't depriving everybody of this esprit de corps. They're able to engage and socialize, but there's also a clear line where it's like, yeah, I'm happy to hang out with you guys and chat and everything like that. But at the end of the day, I am the leader of the project. And so when stuff isn't getting done, I have the ability to put that hat on, step over to the side, be like, look, man, this isn't working. Let's fix it. But part of that is, again, also acknowledging when you goof up, because it's going to happen. You're only human.
You're only human. Tell you what, funny enough, we were speaking about the characters. We shall let you speak. We've got them in order, Achilles, etc. Perhaps we've got some lovely art here. The character turnaround's quite nice, very rich looking art. Perhaps you can do the breakdown. I think you can read this from here.
Yeah.
Let's hear your movie voice.
So this is Achilles. I'm not going to do the movie voice thing because my voice is still a little bit hoarse from this past week when I was sick. But son of Peleus and the immortal Thetis, Achilles was destined for a life of glory cut short on the sands of Ilium. Now his spirit has been mustered from peace to an arena to fight alongside Heracles and Hippolyta against champions unlike any he has faced before, equals in might and fame.
I'll tell you what, that's nice and clear and to the point. And it's, again, like you were speaking about earlier, getting that, summing up a character, a concept, a story in a nice, tidy amount of words to grab people's attention. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Who's your favorite? Well, we won't ask who your favorite character is just yet. Well, let's move on to the next one. Actually.
Oh,
there you go. Heracles. Oh, yeah.
Heracles, the mightiest of heroes. Heracles was made an Olympian for his deeds as a mortal. Since casting off the yoke of godhood, he now fights in the arena with the intent to ignite a rebirth of his kin as they have dwindled from existence.
Tell you what, that's a bit tasty, that artwork there, isn't it?
Yeah. He is easily, so like, he is the fan favorite of the designs. Everyone who sees this guy, like, this is the best Heracles has ever looked. And I'm like, yes, you're right.
That's the feedback you're getting, yeah?
Oh, 100%. Like, you look at this guy and he just looks like he would, like, destroy you. And that's what Heracles should look like.
Yeah, I tell you what, that club, I wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of that, folks.
Gosh. No, and like that's the beauty of it, is you get to have a lot of fun with doing these designs and what have you. And Heracles has been a blast to write. And I love each of these character designs for their own reasons. I think that, like, from an objective standpoint, this is absolutely like the eye grabber of the lot of them.
Absolutely. I think we'd call that the Bua Shaka Club. It's certainly when he picks that up, it's probably going to go down real quick.
Yeah.
Swift and emphatic violence, folks, is what we call that. A kind of blowing the doors moment off, if you've ever seen The Italian Job. Moving swiftly on. Characters, the injection of Hippolyte as opposed to Theseus, yes?
Yeah.
And this has created a new dynamic. Let's hear your character summation for her, please.
So Hippolyte is a warrior queen in life and a pariah in death. Hippolyte spurned her sisters for the love of the famous King Theseus. She ran away with her lover, and in doing so, her sisters, who could not comprehend the betrayal, assumed Hippolyte was kidnapped, so they pursued her. The ensuing war left the blood of her sisters on her hands. Now she fights in the arena as a personal penance and to unleash the fury of the Amazons in this tournament of heroes.
Folks, can you hear that? Can you feel it? That is, all of a sudden, we've got hot space. It's spicy. the creative tension has gone up a few levels.
She's probably my favorite character to write of the main three.
Why
Like
is
I
that?
love writing Achilles, I love writing Heracles. I think that the really fun thing about Hippolyta is when you look at Achilles and Heracles, they're very clearly defined, right? There's so many, like even though we've lost a lot, there's so many stories about those two, and their characterization is pretty consistent across all of them. So it's one of those things. There's not a lot of wiggle room. Hippolyta has always been the supporting character of somebody else's story. And as such, her lore, her mythology is way more nebulous and open to interpretation. There are various different versions of her character, and this is me taking bits and pieces from different traditions and combining them for the best version of the character in terms of suiting the narrative of this story. And I have a blast writing her. She's actually going to be we're doing our first Elysian Fields spin-off, and it's all about her. Like it's great.
Tell you what, that one made us smile. We very rarely smile. I suppose we didn't crack our monitor mirror there. I think we could handle a spin-off with her. Let's just put it quietly and politely. Yes, I think she is. I think we're as if I was a fan, rapidly becoming one. Already, I'm thinking that's the spin-off book we want. Just saying.
We actually announced, so at the end of the second issue, we have a 12-page character profile about Hippolyta, and it serves as effectively the prologue to Song of Hippolyta, which is her spinoff. And we have an artist attached, so we shared the test page that artist did. She did a fantastic job, and it's gotten some really great response. Like, it's absolutely stunning.
Do you know what? We don't talk about politics, sex, and religion in this show, but strong women, feisty, strong, elegant, maternal women. I mean, you spoke very highly of your mum. We do likewise as guiding star, and you know what? It's nice to see historical and mythological feminine energy embraced in a classic foundational Western story, and to see an indie comic creator bringing it to the wild frontiers of indie comics, it's quote unquote a good thing.
100%. And it's been very fun writing her, as I said. To touch on the mother thing, that's a big motherhood is a very big theme in her story. Is not just her relationship with her own mother, which is explored in the Song of Hippolyta, but her relationship as a mother to her own child. And the fact that, in this version of the story, the Amazonomachy, which is the war of the Amazons that they fight with Athens, that is depicted on the Parthenon, is caused by her affair with Theseus, which she runs away from her duty as a queen because she's pregnant. And so she has her son Hippolytus, and she dies protecting him. So this is a whole thing of she chose her son over her sisterhood, and that has caused her more grief than anyone knows.
Yes.
What up, Dave?
Yeah, it's Dave Brinks saying a hello there. Good to have you in the house tonight, Dave at Genuine Comics, and a hello right back at you. Yes, good to see you. We know that sooner or later Dave's going to come up with an incisive, probing question, because that's his specialty, and he's quite good at that. We know it's coming.
Dave knows me well enough. Dave and I have worked together professionally on American Bliss. We've been friends for years. It's been a good time. So I'm sure he'll think of something fun.
So you guys go way back. Glad to hear. Now
Yep.
let's have a little look here. What have we got next? Oh, it's show trailer time. Now, we've been looking forward to this. Folks, that trailer is a mythological fact. Great job. Who did the trailer for you, Michael Oden? That was just, you know,
that
what
was done.
Do you know what those guys like, folks? That's what those guys like. That's how we like it. Are you hearing us?
That was done by Good Stuff. He does a fantastic job. Very affordable as well. So if you're an indie creator and you're looking for someone to put together just an absolutely solid trailer that does everything you need it to do, you need to hit him up because he's incredibly affordable and he is very, very good. He's very professional. Good Stuff. Good Stuff. We'd say, and then some. Yes.
Oh yes. So we're just enjoying the moment. If there's an ellipses in the sound that's going out, you know, just some, you know, like good baking or a good trailer with some Greek myths. You know, as guys, we're simple creatures. We know what we like. We're moving swiftly on because we're going to keep this show universal. Crowdfunder, Michael Oden, tell us about the digital edition and the paper edition.
Okay, so digital edition, super standard. You get the full experience of Elysian Fields digitally, and it's $5. There you go. That's the end of that. You get it's 44 pages of story. It's epic. It's great. Have fun with it. And then the physical edition, we have 4 different variants. We have the main cover, which was shown earlier, and then obviously you saw the rest of them during the trailer. We have a beautiful Von Randall, Robert Nugent.
Whoa, cover. Easy, Tiger. We'll get to these variant covers. We want to see some visuals with this.
I apologize.
Just do a little bit of preparation. Now that we've got Dave Brinks in the house, he knows that
fair enough.
We really like to do our homework. We do shrines, background checks. We send out a reconnaissance team out there to check.
Dude, fair enough. Fair enough.
And what's his name from the Tomb of Reckoning, Brother Dio, or Dionysius, as we have redubbed him. That didn't go down too well with his bodyguard, who happens to be a werewolf. Only one of our reconnaissance team made it back from the Tomb of Reckoning, and I think he said something like, we're quitting. You can get your own reconnaissance team because I won't be working as part of this one anytime soon." So we only found a limited amount of information on Brother Dionysius. Now, listen, folks, here you've got a digital edition, and count them 44. You know, I'm at his convention table, Michael Odin's convention table. I'm buying the paper edition. Probably go digital. Crikey, I think we've got a confession pending. We're going to back this, folks. We've got to back this. We'll say it one more time, just so somebody can clip us. Yes, we're going to back the Legion Fields. I think we're finally cracked. So
and we've got very. I will say this. I know that it's a bear for international shipping, and a lot of it's the biggest thing. And so I have all of our international shipping pretty much for books is at $15. It's the cheapest that I can get it. I take a little bit of a hit, I think, but it's all good. Like I would rather get it to you guys in the most affordable way that I can than anything else.
$15.
And so
that converts to sterling about 10 quid. You are taking a bit of a hit there. Well done, my man. Well done, Michael.
So like that's the whole deal, is that I am trying my best to take care of my customers. And so like you get like the physical edition, and you can add on, like we have the big collection tiers and everything like that you were about to pull up.
We've got them ready to unleash.
But we also have the ability, you can add on whichever covers you like into a package. It does up the shipping cost, but not by an incredible amount. Like I really wanted this to be as affordable as humanly possible for everybody, because I would rather have 100 people back me where I lose a little bit than 20 or 30 people back me, but I've covered my baseline, right? Like I would much rather
big picture, thinking progressively forwards, yeah, holistically.
Dave was like, it sucks when all covers are so cool, makes it difficult to pick. Just get all of them, Dave.
Well, we've got to wind it back here. Be remiss of us to go forwards without actually putting up some of these compliments. Genuine Comics, that trailer took effort. Nice. We'd say it's the good stuff, folks. And says here again, that art style is so cool. Love the vibrant colors and the animated art style.
Yes, it's very good. And there, like, you have no idea. If I had the money, I would totally go and get like little animated shorts done for Elysian Fields. That would be so cool. But it's just so expensive.
I'll tell you what, if we were Hollywood, we'd give you 50 million, say, go make this.
I would do it. You'd get it.
Oh man, it sucks when all covers are so cool. Makes it difficult to pick. Oh, it's just like being in that cake shop or that sweet shop. That's the beauty. You know, there's something for every taste. You know, tickle your taste buds. Tell you what, Dave, we like the compliments. Keep them coming. Right, let's move on. We have got, we've done the paper and the digital and paper versions. Now, tell us about the merch. We're all about the merch on this show.
Well, so we've got obviously the Nine Realms Publishing hat, which I'm actually wearing one right now. These things are super comfortable. We have three different.
Wait a minute, we need a close up of that. Come on, Michael Odin. Oh yeah. Nice one.
This one's a bit worn because it's seen quite a bit. I've had this for a couple of months. But we have three different types of shirts. So our first one, which is our main one, is there. As you saw in the trailer, there's that moment where Achilles is slashing Memnon across the chest. And so I really loved that splash, and I had our colorist pull out Achilles and isolate him and give me that. And so it's literally Achilles slashing across the chest of the shirt and leaving a blood streak. So effectively, you're getting killed by Achilles from Elysian Fields. It's a really cool shirt. Really, really happy with how it turned out.
Certified cool.
And then we also have a men and women's shirt for the displaying the Viken Marion cover.
And what's all this? Was this some kind of big box set? Everything. So,
yeah. So this is the collector box, and so this is our coffer of glory. So this has all the covers of the book.
Yeah.
You get the Achilles slash T-shirt. and you get 3 acrylic standees of Achilles, Hippolyta, and Heracles. And you get all of that for, I think it's 200, maybe 250. I can't recall off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Around there. And then we have, it's 200 because then it's $100 upgrade for the panoply upgrade, which you get everything that I just said, plus you get metal cover editions of each of the books.
Metal cover editions. Tell us what this is. A new thing. Tell us. We're an alien. We've just been dropped. We've just been airlifted onto. We've just been dropped on planet Earth. Tell us, what's this metal cover thing?
It's like a standard copy of the book, except they have glued a metal sheet with a specific treatment on there that has the cover printed on it. So it's like extra shiny and looks really cool.
Oh man, that's just the description of that was enough to take me to that special place. That sounds cool. Funnily enough, Michael Oden, we've actually dropped in some original art. You seem to have 3 tiers of original art. Tell us about them, please.
Yes. So the first piece that we have for sale is Will War Reyes' original pencil art. So this is his for the main cover. It is absolutely stunning. And so for that, it's 500. Then we have Von Randall's original art, which is fully inked, going for 1,000. And then for the traditionally penciled and inked V. Ken Marion piece, it's 2,000.
I'll tell you what, they all look rather tasty, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
That's what we call custom premium merch. It's seminal because you're only going to get one of them. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's unique, and that's why you're paying the premium. And indie comics have the chance to factor this into their business model. It's something we talk about with each expert we bring on the show. We talk about that balance of art and commerce, which is commercial art. You have to make enough. You may love doing art, but you can't just be shyly away in your drawing boards. You've got to, great product, yes, but you've got to make great noise, and you've got to offer people the chance to be your customer and reward you with premium merch so you can make enough at this to make a living. And that's the beauty of the explosion of indie comics now. Lots of different business models, lots of different ideas, and we can learn from one another. A rising tide lifts all boats.
Absolutely.
Now, those varying covers.
Yeah. So we've got, this is the fabled V. Ken Marion Andrew Dollhouse cover, which I call our Lionhearted edition. Every other cover that we have depicts the entirety of Team Hades, or the Hounds of Hades, as I have come to call them in the actual story. I wanted to have a cover that really focused on Achilles, because this is his book. And V. Ken just absolutely delivered on this cover concept. It is gorgeous. And then you have, industry colorist Andrew Dollhouse just came in and brought it to a whole other level. So like that's what's going on there.
He must have done something right, because the V. Ken Marion cover is the one I picked, says Dave Brinks, but they're all excellent, which they are. It's a good
pick, and we're right around the corner of getting that one upgraded to a silver foil here at 5K.
And
so
love the way though. Sorry to interrupt. That is the way the color is depth cued and kind of fades as you go into the mist almost of the battlefield. Sorry, you were saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is just tasty, Dave. We concur with your choice. Another one.
And then there's this cover. So this is done by Von Randall and Robert Nugent. Absolutely fantastic artists. Really cool to get to work with Rob on this cover. And then Vaughn is an old friend of mine. We go way back. And it's really cool to see this kind of come together like this. it's crazy because Vaughn did the first variant cover that I ever had. So, and it was for the original Elysian Fields. So it's really cool to see him come back and do this cover for us on the Elysian Fields reboot.
Do you know what? Oh, I've just got to say something in a minute. Oh, hello there, Tank Threat. Hail to all you magnificent people. Flying the Pirates flag there. Welcome, Tank Threat. He's pretty darn good artist himself. We like his explosive inking and his energetic, expressive pencils. Tank Threat's got some drawing chops himself. Good man. And I tell you what. Oh, wait a minute. It's kicking off.
And so what I will say to address this, I normally agree with you, Dave, but the way that the silver foil works on this cover, it actually enhances the color work. In fact, while you read the next comment, I'm going to grab, because I have the great part about a book being done is I actually have physical proofs of everything.
Go on, Michael, my son. Get in there. Show us some evidence. Defend your corner. Come on, let's see this metallic greatness. It's going down Spartan style here, folks. The 5 Pillars of Storytelling Live 17. We're having a manly heated contextual about the old covers. We've all got our preferences, haven't we? It's all part of that, what we call tribal friction of business models. We love talking about commercial art at the 5 Pillars of Storytelling here. And yes, we are by Michael Oden some time there. Oh, here we go. We've got to do that. Actually, we just put that comment down, and we've got to do this big screen. Let's just look at that and just keep doing the slight to side so we can see the reflection. Oh, mama.
Yeah. So the advantage is that I would normally agree with Dave, but I think that because the background is this kind of pale color that kind of fades up towards the top, it actually works. And as a result, you get these very bright, vibrant, metallic reds and this silver streak that goes across, and it actually enhances the color work. Like it actually works very well. So like normally, Dave would 100% agree with you. Silver foils can actually wash out the colors on a cover. But with this in particular, this actually worked very well.
Wouldn't you just want to work on Michael's team? I mean, that is just that is creative resolution as historical fact. That's great. But just, that guy doesn't matter. He's a Spartan. He's gone into a crazy battle. You think, yeah, okay, I'm an Athenian guy. I'm just a pot. I'm going to run into battle after him. Charge! We like that. Good stuff, man. Absolutely great.
And this goes back to even with the leadership thing is, I was talking to our printers and I was like, all right, here are our variant covers. What upgrades do you think would look best with these variants? And so they would go and like the printer told me, is like, well, I think these ones would. And so I had those printed. And like when he said that for the V. Ken Marion one, he would recommend the silver foil, I was a little bit hesitant at first because of exactly what Dave said. But it's one of those things where I trust the intuition of the people I work with.
Yes.
Go on. And that's what I do and it turned out great.
Tank Ferret says, I added the trailer for this to my ad lineup. God bless you.
Thanks, man.
Hey, there you go, eh? It's all about connections, isn't it? Indie comics, we've all got our connections. We can creatively.
Tank did an amazing Achilles piece during Don Draws Stuff show the other week. That was so cool.
Tell us more, please.
Oh man, I mean, let me see if I can't just pull it up and I'll share the screen. I'm sure that it's on his because he posted it to Twitter. It's really, really good. He even took the time to actually write out Achilles in ancient Greek on there too.
Oh, mate, we've got John's Lombox as well in the house tonight.
What up?
We just backed his book, by the way, today. He wrote.
It's a good looking book. The first book was really solid. John and I had a really great conversation about it because he was looking for some feedback, and I told him that, it's a strong start. There are some things that, with the first book and it's in terms of its pacing that can be improved, but that's something that a lot of writers struggle with, especially right off the gate. So like, I thought that it was a very strong first issue. I was very happy with it, especially since he and I had actually gotten to talking a bit about some of the things that informed his creative process with the book. It was really cool.
I'll tell you what, praise indeed, John Burr. You certainly, as a patriarch of the indie comics community, you are well regarded. And what we like here is we're surrounding ourselves with a brotherhood of creative people, and you need, folks, to surround yourself with creative brothers who will be a positive influence on taking your book forwards. Praise, motivations, sharing techniques, how to get good merch, how to create those revenue streams that allow you to meet goal, yes, and build a relationship with your audience by going on different podcasts with different outlooks, yes, and different ideas. To me, we can all be this Greek warrior creative brotherhood that can take ourselves forwards into these creative Elysian fields, so to speak. Tell you what, we've got another one. It's cover D.
Zachary Penintuan. I actually need to fix this because I've misspelled his name, so I need to fix this. But it's Pemintuan. So the M and the N need to be reversed. That is on me. I triple checked this and managed to correct myself into an incorrect spelling. It's great. That's just life for you sometimes, though. That being said, this cover is done by a guy named Zach Pemintuan. Absolutely fantastic piece. We wanted to kind of convey the art direction and style of the recent Hades games by Supergiant Games, because right around the time that we launched, they actually had their full platform release of Hades 2. So it was a cool way to kind of celebrate that and also promote our book. And I found Zach because he had submitted fan art to I think an ArtStation contest on Hades. And his work was brilliant. And so I got in touch with him and I found out that he's actually like a 20-year-old kid that's finishing art school. And this is his first professional gig and he did everything. So it's one of these things. It's a cool thing that we get to do in indies, is that sometimes we get to work with people that we've been following our entire lives and you're completely blown away, like people like V. Ken Marion or and stuff like that. But then you also get to work with people as they are coming into this industry and you get to see their stars rise. And I'm very excited to see Zach's because he's tremendous.
I'll tell you what, that we like them all, and that Achilles one, but this one really stood out to us. When you get one that's unusual, it has almost a slightly different take in tonality almost. And we've just got a random question that's kind of popped into our head. How much is that metallic cover? Just asking the question, man.
For for the holofoil?
For the shiny one that you were teasing us with, that one.
Everyone gets this version of cover B when we cross 5K. Everyone gets. So this is how it goes. So stretch goals.
What is that again? We want to know. We're now listening. Extra hard.
So effectively, how this works is, I do have some tchotchkes on our stretch goals, but I don't really like to do those as much. I feel like everybody has tons of them. I had some fun ideas for some things for this book, so I did it. But I would rather take that money and rather than invest it in getting a bunch of other small things made, I'd rather invest it into the book itself. So we're doing cover upgrades as stretch goals. So at 4K, as I said, we already upgraded everyone who's backed that the original cover, like the main cover of the book, is getting
Put that big screen. Just look at that, folks.
So they're getting the lava holofoil. Once we cross 5K, you get everyone who backed this V. Ken Marion cover. It'll be silver foil.
Just saying, in your creative place, do you have security around your place? Because that cover looks just, there's been a lot of desire for that cover. You've got security, man. That's what I'm saying. Have you got private security?
I just keep it
in
in
the
the
vault. Achilles on the door is what we're saying. Is he standing on the door protecting you, man? We'll behave ourselves. Tank Ferret has sent you
I'm already screen sharing his piece. Actually, I was able to find it after a lot of scrolling, but I found it.
Okay, I agree. Just 1 second before we get to that. John's Lombok. So actually, one thing I want to point out here is that from our guest we had last week, and actually the creator of Godfall Universe as well, Dan, and your good self, what we have here, and particularly John Burr, that's what kind of made the comment spring to our mind. Actually, John's got, I think, a degree, a higher qualification in Western literature, and it's good to have people with a sense of history, so we're not doomed to repeat it, of course, and draw upon those classical principles of Western civilization. We should honor it, not be ashamed of it. We should honor it and draw upon it for our own creative ambitions. It's copyright free. It's part of our history, our mythology, our heritage, and our legacy.
I completely agree with you. And it's one of these cool things where by using these characters and using them in this story, you also have an opportunity to introduce them to the next generation and get them interested so that they can go and revisit the stories that brought them to here.
John's Lombok says, I agree. I like the cards as stretch goals. You're doing it right. I tell you what, we like the fact he's using his trading cards as stretch goals as well. It's got some gorgeous stuff from Renzo, who is the son.
he's very good. I love Renzo Rodriguez. Great work.
Right, here we go. Comments, screen sharing. We still know how to do that. Right here. Can you put the link in the private chat to the image, or drop it in the private chat?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see if we can get it.
I did a screen share, so it should you should be able to.
So we're gonna try it. Here we go. And if we do, just 1 second. If we do, here he is. Add to. Oh, there he is. Add to stage. Oh, we need to get rid of this one. You have to get rid of the presentation. Remember to do that. And here we go. Look at that, folks. Let's just put it on the big screen and that. I tell you what, Tank.
Yeah, this is just a fantastic piece. And as I said, up here in the top right corner, that is Achilles in the ancient Greek.
Yeah, we like the fact, gone authentic on using the Greek alphabet, like that sort of stuff. Again, draw upon the heritage, harness, marshal your resources, harness your talents, folks. Yeah, all these little touches. And what Tank's done there, just for a while, even we drew breath and were quiet. Hey, it happens, folks, even to us. Oh, John's got a comment. Nice. Tell you what, John's Lombox, you're so right, man. It just is nice. I like a bit of that. Sorry, we're gonna have to stop. We're gonna have to get through the rest of the show. But when we see good stuff, we're just thinking, man, just tell you that.
Absolutely.
Great job, absolutely. Right, let's move on. We have got back to the stage. Right then. Okay, let's ask another question. Will I like Elysian Fields Reborn? Who's it for, Michael?
I would say, in terms of its target demographic, I would probably put this book between the ages of 16 and 50. Mainly targeted at it's a battle book, so the people that are going to be the most interested in it are obviously men. But there is an emotionally rich story here. about incredibly flawed characters. I think that this is a book that anyone will enjoy. I would definitely not hand it to like a 5 or 10-year-old because of the violence, but like really the violence is the only thing that we've got going on, at least for the first few issues. Like as I said, I've got this plotted out for about a 30-issue storyline, and I've got the first arc pretty much written. Like I'm finishing up issue 5 right now in terms of writing the script. So it's very exciting. I think people are going to really enjoy this. And it's going to be one of those things where, while there is absolutely a target demographic, I think that this is the book that you can sit down, and it doesn't matter who you are, you're going to get some enjoyment out of it.
Now that it's gone slightly dark outside, we can just point out to folks who are actually watching this, we've got some Elysian Fields red on our makeup light. We do this for all the guests. For Melvin, it was green. It looked like we got hit by some kind of radioactive kind of explosion or something. But for Elysian Fields, we've got the red fire going on with the makeup light, folks. And hey, compliment time. Who's it for? This is what Tank thinks. I thank Michael Odin for making such an inspirational character, Vasilis for the Greek.
You were off by like one letter, dude. It's all good. What he was talking about is when he initially posted it, the initial version, he had Achilles spelled out, but he was missing one lambda, I think it was. And so a guy came out and commented on it, Vasilis, and was just like, there's actually supposed to be 2 of those. I'm like, yes, but he got it's there. Like, that's what it is. It's all good. And yes, the mood lighting looks great.
Yes. Well, you get to 29 and your makeup's cracking. You've got to do something, haven't you? Anyway, John's Lombox. I'm the only guy we know who gets more excited than we do. It's John Boo, John's Lombox, and he says, "I'm so excited for this." We don't blame you, John. We think we're backing this as well, so we'll have backed this, your book, and the Elysian Fields today. A live back, folks. I tell you what, as our grandmother used to say, you must have something.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
Right then, we've got to move on because we've got a little bit more, and we don't want to have Michael turn into that Lloyd from The Simpsons. We hope he's got a window ready to jump through. We've got just a little bit more to go, folks. Why, of the big 5 questions, why do you create indie comics? Is it the creative freedom? What is it? And when did your journey with actual indie comics begin? Well, 5 years ago, as you mentioned earlier.
Why do I create indie comics? I love telling stories. And yeah, there are many ways that I can go about doing it, but comics have always had a very specific place in my heart that I've always loved them. And getting a chance to work on some of my own is just a dream come true. So I think that's probably the most earnest way I could put it.
Tell you what, folks, earnest may not be sexy these days, but it's what we live and breathe on this show at the 5 Pillars of Storytelling Live. We like that word a lot. We consider it a foundational plinth of a word, just saying. Right then, let's move on. Tell us about the creative team, because obviously we're on Michael Odin and
there's tons of
Drew Williams and William Barr, but we did hint that we'd want to have a little look at maybe the inker, the letterer, and the colorist, that we've got others later on, because we like to feature the whole creative team here and give everybody the credit in the sun.
So that Michael Odin guy is, you've heard enough about him this stream. We don't want to get his ego too big. Drew. That's awesome.
Oh, John,
Ernest goes to Hellas. I see it. That's clever. But then there's Drew Williams. Drew is actually one of my oldest supporters of Nine Realms Publishing. He backed the Elysian Fields issue 0 way back during the day and was the first person to do an actual YouTube review of Elysian Fields. And we kind of like after that, he and I, got in touch, and I started to go to him for like a lot of editorial feedback on stuff, because he wouldn't pull punches on things, and he is like he's very meticulous, especially when it comes down to grammar and spelling and what have you.
Exactitude.
And while I'm good at it, it's always good to have somebody that's even better at it to go through and make sure that there's nothing that you've missed. So, Drew came on, and, I brought him on for the Elysian Fields Reborn, and he's done a really, really just spot on job, making sure the script is exactly where it needs to be. And then when I get art pages in, I will frequently, we will send him to Drew, and he and I will talk about them to make sure that they're doing what we need them to best tell the story.
Just having somebody as an overseer of production, it was actually a special guest last week that said, production planning, get a hold of it.
Yeah.
Plan to succeed rather than plan to fail. By not having enough pre-production planning, getting your research and development, yes, but the overall production planning. So when it's going to market, when you can fulfill, you know what I mean? How many you've got in the bank. And yes, we did not actually say you've planned the story up to 30 issues ahead. And we like that sense of ambition here at the 5 Pillars of Storytelling Live, that somebody's saying, we're in this for the long haul. Michael Odin's committed, then I feel secure as a customer, as a potential backer, to commit. Commitment works two ways, folks. You know what I mean? If you're creator, as a creator, in it for the long haul, communicate that to your readership, and it allows them to feel less insecure about, if I send this guy my money, am I going to get anything? Is he going to just do one issue and then we don't hear from him again? He's going to, I don't know, head off to the Antarctic or something. It's very 100%. Important to reassure your audience, make them believe, and back it up with actions and production and how you handle yourself in the campaigns that you deliver. It's a classic phrase, isn't it? Actions speak louder than words. You know what I mean?
Correct. 100%. And, especially when it comes down to fulfillment, that's like a huge thing in the indie field. Is it's, they're like these projects do cost a lot of money, but people spend a lot of money on them too. And so you need to make sure that you're getting your books out in a timely manner. And whenever you have delays, you communicate. And I'm very fortunate. This book, as I said, done. So like literally the money, the moment that we get the money in from Kickstarter, that it hits my account, it goes, put in the print order, send the money over to the fulfillment center over at Critical Blast, and we roll out from there. My hope is to also have a bit of a cushion extra, so that way I can send money and get issue 2 well underway, which it kind of already is. Will has done pencils for I think we're on 9 pages at this point of issue 2, and 5 of them are in issue 1 at the very end as a preview, along with the reveal of the cover for issue 2. So, yeah.
I'll tell you what, that it's just hearing that sense of cushion, buffer, business, commercial balance with the art. Yes, the art all looks very nice in the 5 of the Elysian Fields, but just that moment's pause, we think, yeah, it's nice to speak people, yes, with a sense of history, but they've got the business heads on with this. And you've said, well, I'm pretty decent at editing, but this guy is meticulous exactitude, so he can catch the things that even you think you've seen, get somebody else to have a look at it and oversee the entire project with more of a production mindset. You know what I mean? Juggling balls, he'll catch one of the 2 that you drop and help you out. Yeah.
Yeah.
the small but team that's got the chemistry. And that was just why we took a moment to think, yeah, this guy's got it all together by bringing a team together. You know what I mean? And that's how you build the trust up amongst yourselves. And that emanates also out to your audience.
Absolutely.
Tell you what advice would you give to aspiring creators, Michael? On this show, we listen, learn, and share. And the reason why we have this kind of universal mindset doesn't mean we want to appeal to absolutely everybody, but more universal we can make it. You know, like old Disney, an adult could enjoy an old Disney cartoon, like Jungle Book, and the child would enjoy it on their level. And certainly in terms of how to create comics, in the 80s, there was nothing. You know what I mean? You get the odd article with something like Joe Staton drawing a picture of the original Huntress, where they were doing the kind of Marvel method of building up in diagrams, the gesture drawings, and then the pencil drawing, then the inks. Now, there's nothing quite like monkey see, monkey do with the Star Trek technology. Now we can go on YouTube and see an artist that work in the ways we never could. What advice would you give to aspiring creators who want to be like, you've got creative couples now in indie comics and creative families and children who might want to walk in their footsteps? What advice would you give to aspiring creators?
Do not shy away from getting editorial feedback. I think everybody goes into this and our stories are very similar to like kids of their own, right? But this is still a business, and part of that is creating a story that is able to reach everybody. And so as a result, you need people that are willing to tell you when something works, but more importantly, when it doesn't. Absolutely. Those voices are just as important, if not the most important, as anything else, because at the end of the day, especially in indie, you know, the consumer is the person that's going to decide. And if they don't like what you put out in that first issue or what have you, they're not going to come back for book 2. They're not going to come back for book 3. That there are other things that they can spend their money on, and especially considering that indie is also tends to have a higher price point because we're doing this on our own. We don't have the advantages that the bigger companies do in terms of their distribution and printing volume costs and what have you. So I would say my biggest piece of advice for anyone aspiring to it is don't be afraid of the red pen. It's your friend.
Okay. We concur with your advice. That is sage advice, gentle but firm advice. And yeah, we like to hear the positive, good stuff. But, you know, if there's something you need to work on, better to know about it. And then, you know, it's part of your own hero's journey. And there is creative suffering, and that's part of what's going to make your product worthwhile. You'll get that heroic growth in your creative vision over time by listening to other people, what they think. They want to see you succeed. They're your audience. They want to buy from you. Help them. Listen.
Absolutely.
Right. What superhero would you be, Michael Odin? We get a sneaky feeling that we might already know, but give it to us all the same, please.
What superhero would I be? Oh, not even like what I want to be, who I would be. We're going to go with Spider-Man because I just feel like my life's a mess 3/4 of the time. And every now and again, I manage to eke out a win, and it feels great. So we'll do that. Plus, great costume.
Great costume as well. Yeah, the classic red and blues. Would you be classic red and blue, or would you be noir black?
I do red and blue, man. I love the symbiote suit as well, but like nothing beats the iconic
Steve Ditko iconic.
No.
Suppose you gotta. I'll tell you what, we like the way you gave slight pause to the gravity of that question. We like a bit of pausing around
it's here. Like the specific wording isn't like, who would you want to be? It's, who would you be? And I go, oh, God.
Just
I
look
don't
at the
feel like Superman much, so that's out.
interesting that you said that, you know, your life's a mess and all this business. Creative people would tend to have that kind of creative vortex thing going around in our life. You know, it's almost like our lives are creative tornadoes as we try and remain grounded, plinth-like and statuesque. And then all of a sudden you got this messed around thinking, come on, man, it feels like I'm battling the tidal forces of time and space. And it was actually Peter Simeti of Alternate Comics. It comes across as such a chill, hoarse whisper of a guy, you know, with a black belt of a sense of humor, you know what I mean? And he's got all that 18, 20 years of experience in indie comics publishing. And he says, man, sometimes I just feel like I haven't got it together. Sometimes he comes across as so controlled, so cool, and he's got it all down. And, you know, it's just that slight confessional tone we appreciate, because we haven't always got the answers. But if we're open to the great ether, perhaps they will come to us if we have a progressive, outward-looking face and treat other people with grace, gentleness, and generosity. Maybe they can help us when we have that moment's pause.
Absolutely.
Got to ask this next question. Bonus questions. Don't worry,
man.
not too many. What are your plans for Nine Realms Publishing going forwards? Up to issue 30, perhaps, and beyond?
Okay, so I think big things right now. So obviously we're working on. I've been working on the Elysian Field scripts, and so we have everything written for the first 5. I'm finishing up the first 5 issues, so that's very exciting. Yesterday I got to start working on, and I'm very happy with that where it is. But I started working on the script for the Embrace 3, as Dean is finishing the art on the second book here over the next month or two. And then finally we've got what was I going to say? My mind was went. As I said, that's right. For Elysian Field, Song of Hippolyta, we have stuff, and then we have a couple of things that I can't really talk about right now because of confidentiality agreements and what have you. I can say that I've also turned in the script for issue 2 of American Bliss, if Dave Brink is still watching. So whenever he decides that he wants to pull the trigger on that, and Eric Hodson's availability is there for doing the art on that. I know we're really excited to get back to American Bliss. It is a good time, and I'm starting the book 3 script here shortly. Yeah, there's lots of stuff to look forward to in the future.
I'll tell you what, you're certainly a prodigious writer with lots of energy and lots of output. But we suspect that your burning heartbeat is the Elysian Fields somehow. But it's interesting that you're working in the community to do other creative projects. Do you find that actually energizes and galvanizes your home baseball project in terms of Elysian Fields?
I think that it's important to get distance from everything that you work on. And like Elysian Fields is definitely one of those things I'm very passionate about. I'm also incredibly passionate about the Embrace, you know, as a story that I made effectively for my son. And
tell us more about that. You made a story for your son, the Embrace. Go on.
Yeah. So, I mean, at the time I was going through a very nasty custody bout. And I was very fortunate I came out on top of that.
God bless you.
Yeah. Thanks. I came up with the idea of this character where it's, you know, the father-son superhero dynamic with, you know, a kid, like you've got this ghost that comes in and helps, you know, and out. And I think that the majority of these types of stories, it would be the father is the one that's passed away. He comes back to be this guiding light for the kid. It's the thing that seems kind of the most obvious. And so I inverted that. And it's this story about a guy whose child was murdered. His son's ghost comes back to save him from his desperation and shows him what happened to him. And when he comes to, he's in this super suit powered by his son's ghost. And so together they're this spectral superhero, the Embrace, bringing his child's murderers to justice. And so like, that's a very big, like that is obviously like a huge thing that I'm incredibly emotionally invested in. And a lot of people are. We've been very successful. We're very fortunate to have the level of success that we've had on those books. And it's really just, it's a blast to see how that character has resonated with people.
To which we say, Amen. Yeah, good
Thanks.
lad. Good lad. Right, we have obviously a light hearted question here. Favorite pizza, man? How does it go down?
Pepperoni and sausage.
And
Pepperoni and sausage. Too easy.
What, right now, pepperoni and sausage sounds real good. This is our drawing hand, so we don't need that one right now. We could start on this hand and go all the way up to our shoulder.
Hell yeah.
And I'll tell you what, who wouldn't want to share pizza and beer with a guy who can do the Elysian Fields as pizza and beer talk? That's your Greek brother right there. We're all part from the indie comics community. Tank Ferret, John's Longbox, Dave Brinks, we're all piling around to his house. It's beers and pizzas, and I don't know, we can sort of wave some kind of Spartan swords around. You know what I mean? This is some kind of, that sounds like an idea. You know what I mean? How's that for a get together? Indie comics.
I mean, I'd be down. Like so long as people are throwing in on the pizza and I'm not just left with the bill.
Oh yeah, I mean, we'd have to contribute, man. That would be a crowdfunder alone just for the pizza, wouldn't it? Just saying. Right then, look, we're now nearly at the end of our own epic heroes journey. The final question: where can they find out more info about you, Michael Odin, and the Elysian Fields?
Okay, so I mean, you've got my X account on there. Mainly, what you'll get from that is me complaining about Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey set photos. But if you want actual industry updates on Instagram, you can follow me at 9RP Comics. And then on Facebook, we're very easily found under 9 Realms Publishing. Those are the two places where I probably put out the most content in regards to what 9 Realms Publishing is doing and everything like that. I'm trying to be a bit more active about it. It's just a lot to juggle between the campaigning, going on shows, then posting and everything like that. It's a lot, but I'm getting more and more content out there, and we're steadily growing our followership. It's really good stuff. So
just a little
feel free to follow us there.
Just a little hot tip there, folks. Something we've come across, we've asked Grok 3 about it, and we've shared this with other creators like Bianca Yamakoshi, who's multi-platform. And if you are going on multi-platform, you can gain efficiencies from using aggregate software, which allow, as long as you sync up your social media accounts, you can, and you've got different formats for different sites like Instagram and Facebook and X. Basically, load it up, and it will deploy to you, so saving you having to log in and do the formatting and posting for each one. So you've almost got a 400% time saving. So aggregate software, something for people out there to actually look into. You know, it's an interesting time saver. Efficiency is what we want in indie comics in terms of how we deploy and marshal our resources. So Michael Odin has told you there where to find him on different social media platforms. Now, a last thing to say with grace. We'd like to say thank you to Michael Odin for being our special guest. It's nice to have a Spartan, Athenian, Greek, Elysian Field brother fighting the battle as a father, and not the only father and son combination we've come across in the indie comics field, you know what I mean? And there are various father and son stories out there. We hear a lot in the not so mainstream news about fathers, and you know, that not always put in a great light. But you know, John's Longbox and the Patriarch book is all about a celebration of fathers, and we see in Michael Odin and his own heroic journey in terms of the Elysian Fields, somebody who feels very deeply about being a father. So it emanates from him as a creator, and in terms of how he spoke candidly over the stream. So we really do, it's something, you know, fathers can champion themselves and what they're trying to do. They're 80%, maybe 90%. Most guys want a simple, good, quiet life where they can be creative themselves, the life's purpose, using their hands and having a happy life, you know what I mean? And we can certainly champion that at the Wild Frontier of Indie Comics. Do you know what, Michael? It's been an absolute pleasure to have an authoritative, historical, classical, Western civilization foundational plinth of a creator on this show. When we sit and listen quietly, we can do that. We learn something, and you know what? It was an education, and you infused in us the passion that you so passionately emblazon in your product. We will back it. And just, we've got to ask one more final time: if we back the paper copy and you've taken a hit on the postage and shipping, if we meet the bulkhead of 5K or whatever the barrier is, we can actually get one of the metal covers.
It's not metal. It's silver hollow foil.
Silver hollow foil.
Yeah. So, and then the metal covers are actually it will be in that box. And we're only doing 20 of those. But yeah, like this is
we get the paper copy, we get one of those. Just so audience knows. Got to be down for that, folks. That's a killer steel deal. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And as I said, whole book done. It's all there.
It's all there. I'll tell you what, we've got to promo the living you know what out of this so we can get that. That's what we think. We'd say keep contributing to our indie comic promos on Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday. And Michael, we'll try and back you to the hilt and help you out on that. Try and get to one of those bulkheads.
Thank you so much.
No problem, sir. Right, and lastly, now what we have to do now, it says we've got to play the outro trailer. Thank you again, Michael Odin. It's been an absolute privilege.
Thank you.
Just like to say that